Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of the High Sensitivity Podcast special. Many of you know us for our taste in video games. Now we're doing the other part of the show where we talk about the movie and TV shows of the year. If you don't know who we are, my name is Barry. I'm one of the co-hosts. I am also joined by my other illustrious co-hosts.
Oh, you're so kind, Barry. My name is Craig.
My name is also Craig. Some have compared us to Roger and Ebert. That's how distinguished our views are on movies and TV shows.
Yes, I believe that.
That's not true at all.
We're almost Scorsese-like, I think, in a way.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yes.
James Cameron-like, if you will.
Yeah, but he's kind of full of himself. So.
He is.
Yes.
I like to keep it simple and keep it on the rating of either I liked it or I didn't like it, and that's about it.
Yeah, did we have fun?
All right.
That's what
Yeah.
usually tends to matter the most. So, with that, I think we were going to start with TV shows this time around.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
TV
Start
shows.
with those honorable mentions.
Yeah. So before we get into honorable mentions and everything, I did separate. We always have Barry's anime corner. That part will never go away. This year's anime corner does not have any particular rankings, but if I can recommend people to watch something, these are all series that are either on a second season or have already finished up for the year. So, as I'm recommending them, there is no ranking here, but just if you are looking for some anime to watch that you hadn't watched yet, try these guys. Kaguya-sama, Love is War, Cyberpunk 2077, which we've talked about before, Ranking of Kings, Spy X Family, Call of the Night, and Licorice Recoil. For the most part, there's a lot of stuff in here. Call of the Night and Kaguya-sama are like romance ones, funny comedies. Cyberpunk 2077, Ranking of Kings, Spy X Family is more action-wise. Licorice Recoil is actually like a weird anime girl, John Wick, with guns.
Is it licorice or licorice?
Licorice.
Licorice.
Sorry, yeah.
Licorice.
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 Okay.
Licorice. Sis.
Interesting. Okay.
But that's Barry's anime corner. Anime Barry's
That
corner.
was anime corner.
I think you should
Barry.
switch it up. I think you should switch it up. That's Anime Barry's corner. Barry's anime corner.
The corner of anime of berries.
Yes, if you find Barry Ave in the corner of Anime Ave, that's where we'll meet.
And he will suggest multiple anime shows for you to watch.
Yeah.
Multiples.
I have some favorites from this season, but they're not done with their seasons yet, so I'm not going to recommend them. So,
Okay. Fair enough.
ending is paramount. So, TV shows. I guess we'll each kind of do what we did with our top 10s. We'll go over the honorable mentions we have, and then we'll kind of each go over our top 10, 9, so on and so forth. My two honorable mentions are Moon Knight and House of Dragons.
Oh, okay.
House of Dragons, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why are you surprised that it's even on honorable mentions, or that are you surprised?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm surprised it's even on there.
Yeah, for me, it's a good start to what like Game of Thrones was, and I feel like it's something to build on. I was pretty entertained each episode, so that's why I do make it in my honorable mentions. Moon Knight, I do feel, is one of the best TV shows they've done this year, and it's just a lot of fun. Who's the actor for Oscar Isaac? Yeah, Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac.
Yes, he's good.
Plays a
He's
phenomenal
really good.
person with like double, triple personalities. Spoiler, I guess, but regardless, watch them, and you'll be surprised. I think what the other ones make in my list this year.
Yeah. Go ahead, Craig.
All right. Well, I didn't watch as much TV as I had hoped this year. If Barry does have his own anime corner, I could have like a Craig's crappy TV corner, which is some of the things that I've been watching. It's more of like a Netflix kind of thing with like shows like The Circle, Love is Blind. Those are all recommended for people who are not necessarily needing anything story driven or has famous actors.
Don't tell me you're going to tell them to watch like that one weird, and I see it all the time, like Anchors Away show or something like that, where it's drama on a boat and they're helping these ridiculously rich people.
Craig's reality corner? Is
Yeah,
that what
maybe.
we need?
Yeah.
Reality television
We could
corner?
do it. I mean, there is definitely a niche in somebody's day where they don't want to watch something that actually means something, like that
Yeah.
will leave them feeling breathtaking from. So those are some recommendations. I also had House of Dragons in my honorable mentions. It did enough for something Game of Thrones, but it didn't blow me away like any of the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones. It was just kind of nice to see more Game of Thrones, to be honest. Uh, so I have that in my honorable mentions as well.
Okay. All right. So my honorable mentions here for TV shows. I have 3 of them because I had a hard time cutting it down. I think when I started cutting down my list, I had like 30, 35 TV shows this year.
Wow.
So it's tough. So my first honorable mention would be The Rehearsal. I know I talked about this a lot. Such a weird TV show, but hilarious at the same time and just like super interesting. Super recommend people check that one out. I think I've said that like a million times. My second one would be Obi-Wan. I really enjoyed that TV show. I think they did a good job giving Ewan McGregor some more time and tying in, I guess, spoilers, but bringing Hayden back as Darth Vader was very cool. And then my last honorable mention, which might surprise Barry here a little bit, is Blackbird.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. All right.
Wow.
Didn't quite make the top 10. It would be at an 11.
I was to say your top 10 must be much. It's probably much higher than mine, I guess. Oh boy, man.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
We all really like this show. What happens is when I go through this, though, this was the hardest one between games, movies, and TV. Like this was by far the hardest one to cut it down to 10, and that was the one that I was like, it has to be an honorable mention, but I couldn't put it in the top 10. So those are my 3.
All
right. So then I will start with my number 10, and it is going to be HBO Max's Winning Time. I just thought this was and I'm not going to say the whole title. I'm sorry. It's Winning Time, Lakers crap, blah, blah, blah.
Yep. Stuff with
I thought it was a really fun TV show. I really like the comedy aspect that it takes with like the Lakers like dynasty winning season. And just getting a look into kind of like one of the greatest dynasties in sports in a really like non-fictional way. Because I wasn't born during that time. So getting to learn more about it and then like later researching it to find out that oh yeah, he did like tear up his face in an accident with with a bike
on his
and
bike.
all this other stuff with Magic Johnson that I had no idea even happened back then because I wasn't even I guess I couldn't even think or process a thought at the time.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's both though like it is definitely of like the low tier. It's not anything crazy like people are not going to like the film grain effect on literally every single portion of this movie. Like there is not a time where this TV show looks fantastic or anything like that because there's this film grain all over it. But it is a good TV drama comedy show. So that's why I have it at my number 10.
That was a hard one for me, but I ended up cutting it altogether. But I enjoyed it. It just didn't quite cut it. The top 12 or so for me.
Craig, ours is going to be the cream of the crop here. I can already tell.
It's going to be basically Emmy winners.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm going to name some of these and you're going to be like, really? What? That's better than Blackbird or you know what I mean?
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll get there.
We'll see. I guess if we're going in order, my number 10 is Sandman.
Nice.
Specifically for the diner episode.
So good.
I think the diner episode was so well done that barring some of the other sleepy time moments also and the what's going on moments that it might have been one of the best episodes in television for the year, between cinematography, storycraft, in terms of like how the episode plays out, and it really started to flesh out certain things in the series. I know when we talked about it a long time ago, we were wondering how it just went back to the sleepy time type of moment right after. But that was just such a powerful scene. It resonated with me enough to put the entire series at the 10 mark for me. I enjoyed it. I actually recommend people just go and watch that scene. Don't even worry about the rest of the story. Just go and watch that episode in particular. That's number 10 for me.
You know, what's funny is that also is not on my list, but was another close one because I really like that show. I think it has potential season 2 to just be phenomenal.
Yeah,
But yeah, that diner episode was amazing.
it was.
All right, number 10 for me is She-Hulk.
Oh, okay, I like that. I
Okay,
like that
all
one.
right.
I liked what they did with the show. That last episode, breaking the fourth wall, was amazing. You know,
Yeah.
dropping into the different Disney Plus shows was a cool idea. Talking to Kevin the robot was cool.
Yeah, that was good.
I just like, you know, the idea of not needing a overall bad guy in the TV show helps, right? Because you have Titania and Abomination, but they're not really like, they're there, but they're not like the main point. I just think it was I wanted them to do She-Hulk right, and I feel like they did. So that's my number 10.
Yeah,
I agree.
the reason that one ended up on the cutting room floor for me was because of her best episodes. I feel like are the ones with Daredevil in it, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
at what point for me is it more I'm liking it because of Daredevil and not because of her herself? That one was like on 13 for me,
Yeah.
and right below honorable mentions there. So
It's the same thing as like Book of Boba Fett,
Yeah.
bringing in Mandalorian. Yep. Yep.
All right, so my number 9 is Andor. Overall, I do think this is one of the better Star Wars quality shows, but I do want to get this like first, like say this first for it. Like, I understand that a lot of people will say like this is probably the best thing that Star Wars has really produced in a long time. I just find it so incredibly slow.
Yep.
You get these little payoffs throughout the series here, but it for me, and I guess it's my own fault here, I'm one of those people that just like the lightsabers, the Force, and everything like that. When you start making it a drama, does it really need to be in the Star Wars universe for it? Is my thinking
True.
here. What makes Star Wars for me is the Force, the lightsabers, the Sith versus light side, and I get that there's all this different other stuff, but I think that's what like makes Mandalorian I think so much more interesting and fun is because just that there's that little connection through Grogu that makes it into this bigger portion where Andor tries to flesh out a character from Rogue One, which I like the character, but it's just that the show is very, very slow. So
I've had a friend who like is obsessed with this show has told me so many times, like, man, once you get to like the later episodes, it's phenomenal. And I have tried countless times to get through this show, and so far I think I'm on episode 4. I just get so bored. My God, is it boring? And I'm just like, all right, I know the payoff's coming, but like, oh my dear,
where is
Lord.
it?
Yeah, it's rough.
My number 9, this might come out of left field. I don't know if I've talked too much about it, is Pam and Tommy.
Okay.
The Hulu series specifically about Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. And Sebastian Stan playing quite a good Tommy Lee. To be honest, I have it on the list specifically. It is a drama type of show, but for somebody who really didn't know a lot about her, I think that the show had enough realistic nature to it, in addition to was acted incredibly well, to bring a different idea of who Pamela Anderson actually is and how much of a victim that she was. Because that type of scandal has happened to other people, Kim Kardashian, and then other people as well. But usually we, as the public, label them a certain way without actually thinking about them as people and if they wanted that type of exposure out. And it did a good job of showing what she was going through and how like Tommy Lee was reassuring her that everything's going to be okay. And then it just got gradually worse and gradually worse and gradually worse. And she was actually trying to be a legit actress, like trying to land roles. She was already in a moment where she was trying to establish herself as a woman in the industry who's not just pretty. And how many women have had to do that in their professional careers, even outside of acting. So it was a very interesting take on her and him. Seth Rogen offered some great comedic points as well in the show. So I like until I actually sat down and looked at my list, I was like, wow, that actually kind of impacted me a little bit more. It's going to sneak in, and it snuck into number 9 for me.
I haven't watched it yet. It was on my list of things to watch. I think like, man, that when that tape came out, that like broke. I remember specifically like LimeWire and
Mhm.
every other one because everybody was trying to download it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody was getting viruses.
Yeah, it broke the internet before the internet was as established as it is today. We use that term "break the internet." That one, like literally, it like
Yeah.
it also showed people how to use the internet. That was like people
did.
like first
It
time
did.
trying to www dot something, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Definitely gonna have to check it out. It was on my list and I totally forgot about it, and then I just never
I
went
was
back
gonna
and
say, I
watched
remember you mentioning it, Craigar, that you had
Mhm.
watched the first couple episodes. So
All right, number 9 for me is gonna be Reacher on Amazon Prime. I absolutely love that show to
oh,
death.
yep,
It's doing Jack Reacher the correct way, not the Tom Cruise movie way. Not that those are terrible movies, but they were a little boring. But yeah, it was such a good TV show. He was phenomenal in that role as like just the insanely massive dude who's also, I mean, he was smart.
yeah,
He's smart. I can't wait for more seasons of that. But man, that show was like came out of nowhere for me, and it was like I was talking about that to everybody for weeks
yep,
after I watched that phenomenal show.
perfect. All right,
I like that.
so let's see here. All right, next up for me is Sandman. Just
Nice.
barely makes it for me. I again enjoy what I like about Sandman. You guys kind of spoke to it as well. What you liked about it. So it's not much for me to say, other than I'm just excited for more seasons. Primarily, it's
Yeah,
like it looks
Mhm.
like it's going to continue to get better with more seasons, which is what I want. So
it just seemed like speaking to it, I agree with you, Barry. Like I think the sleepy time thing that I don't know why I focus on the word sleepy time, but I think it
we've
was
used it before.
Yep.
yes,
We've said sleepy
yeah.
times before.
It's definitely just it was just one long pilot is what it felt like. The pilot episode that annoys you with any starting show, it just felt like one long pilot. Characters were really established, but they try to get a lot of information out, create the world. So season 2 might be a banger, you know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Now that they have everybody established and set up
Exactly.
as to who they are, you can
Yeah.
really get into it.
Oh my god, yeah. So
Number 8.
8 for me was Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of
I thought you were
Curiosities.
gonna say Pinocchio.
one.
Darn it.
I know.
But that's
I
the
almost
movie, that's the
accidentally
movie. My
did.
apologies.
That is a movie. I almost accidentally did. Yeah, Cabinet of Curiosities. It's 8 because it had its low points in certain episodes, but I'm a sucker for anthology or collections of those type of that material. You guys know that I live in a scary household all year round, not just Halloween. So you may find some like other horror movies / TV shows on my list, but I thought that the collection of directors that he got together, I think there was just enough stardom in certain and unknowns for certain people in each episode where people really acted their butt off. It was a good collection. There were certain ones like the Rupert Grint one I wasn't as big a fan of. I thought it could have been better, especially I was excited because he was in it. They threw Eric Andre in one, which was a very interestingly shot. It's like the last of the episodes that are out, but it was interestingly shot, but didn't really land as well as some of the other ones. But then Craig and I have talked about the Lotion episode, which surprised us.
So good.
Just because of how it and it was just a good episode. So it had enough bite to it that I thought it definitely wasn't 1 or 2 for me, or even 5, but it felt like it deserved number 8 for me. I hope he does more.
Yeah, it was good. For me, there was like 3 or 4 that I could do without,
Mhm.
and then the rest were pretty good. Number 8 for me is going to be Moon Knight. We already talked about Moon Knight, but just phenomenal job. It's like in my household, at least, my kid is obsessed with Moon Knight, so it's like all she ever talks about. But yeah, just well done with that character. I'm hoping that they can bring him into the cinematic universe going forward. That would be nice. But yeah, just such a good, like, tight and concise story for a season. Loved it.
Perfect. Yeah, Moon Knight will definitely get up there. Next for me is Archive 81, based on your guys'
Yes.
recommendations. Archive
Ooh.
81 like is so out of my comfort zone that I enjoyed, like, at least you guys kind of give me a warning. It's like, oh, it's not that bad, because there are like a little bit of jump scary parts
Yep.
in it, but the fact that like that show came out so early this year, and I'm still like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I liked it. I'm still I still remember vividly a lot of what that show did and how it made me feel, because it's so out of my comfort zone. I feel like it's a lot like how Resident Evil did for me last year, where that game so out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Archive 81 is this year's
Yeah.
Resident Evil for me. But it's I don't think it's anything too groundbreaking, hence why it's not like number 1 or number 2 on my list. But Archive 81 is definitely a very fun mystery, like, thriller type of thing with a
Yeah.
tiny horror aspect to it, which is just
I'm
enough.
really glad you put it on your list, because I cut it and it hurt me
Yeah.
to cut that
Yeah.
show because I liked it so much. But yeah, great show.
I knew this would happen at some point, but that's my 7.
Nice.
Oh, sweet.
Archive 81
Yes.
is my 7. You said it enough. It's it had a perfect blend of like everything that you would look for, especially for Barry like you and myself who jump easily. It had enough of that, but like not too much so that you can keep continuing, but told a great story. Anybody who's listening or watching, definitely pick that up. We as a collective 3 watch so many different things, and there are certain things that the 3 of us agree on, and like that's definitely one of them. So I can't believe you put it on your list. That's fantastic.
We've now done, this is the second. We're gonna do this for 2 times now, so that's fun.
So my number 7 is not Archive 81. I'm sorry that we couldn't get the trifecta here.
That's hard to
my
do.
number, yeah, it is. My number 7 is actually going to be Wednesday. Came out of nowhere. I expected absolutely nothing from. I was like, oh, it's an Addams Family spinoff, okay, but it was just like, the story was great. It was a nice little who done it or who's doing it type of mystery. Jenna, she kills it as Wednesday. Man, I didn't expect to like that as much as I did, but it was phenomenal. Just an absolutely phenomenal TV show.
Yeah, and I feel like I'll get into Wednesday once I start it. I just haven't yet, so
yeah,
you'll
definitely like it. Yeah.
All right. My number 6. We're at 6, right?
Yep.
Number 6 is Rings of Power.
Wow.
All right.
I did really enjoy Rings of Power. It is a very good Lord of the Rings TV show, and I love Lord of the Rings. It's just not higher on my list because of how slow it starts. But it does a really good job of, like, storytelling wise. I think it does a good job. I like all the cinematography this one does. The special effects don't look crummy at all. Like, Amazon put money into this TV show, and it shows. And it looks like it's only going to get better, according to them. Like, we're going to continue to get movie quality, war scenes and everything out of Lord of the Rings. There's just so much depth to it, and it's just nice to see that Lord of the Rings is becoming again a bit more relevant, just because that is a series that I do hold close to me. So I enjoy what that show offers, and I had a lot of good time, other than the first 3 episodes. Really, really, really slow.
I didn't get past the first one.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. It was so boring. And I love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Hey, Barry, question for you.
Yeah.
Is there a battle scene that is as good, either cinematography or whatever, as like Helm's Deep? If I could just like name a battle like in the first 3 movies, like is there a Helm's Deep in this show? Because if there is, then I'm watching it after this.
No, not Helm's Deep. Like, definitely the second to last episode is a lot of stuff going on, a lot of war types. But again, this is kind of the stage setting. We didn't get those fantastic like war like scenes in Game of Thrones until later seasons, after you build up connections and everything like that, and get invested into their characters. And I think that's what inevitably Rings of Power is going for. They give you a little taste of it, but if they at the end of Rings of Power, Mordor is forming and starts to happen. So you're going to get, trolls and everything like that versus, humans, elves, trolls, and uh dwarves. That's what I was looking for, dwarves. So it's only going to continue to build, and I do think that this show will, whenever season 2 comes out, will hopefully find itself higher on my list.
All right. So 6 for me. I can't believe we're already at 6. It's a combo. I guess you can group them together. Tell me if I can't. I'm putting The Boys season 3 / The Boys Diabolical.
Sure.
Just in general.
I suppose we could allow it.
But like, what's funny is my argument is more so going to focus on just Jensen Ackles and The Boys season 3. It's Soldier Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Soldier Boy. It's Soldier Boy. It's Soldier Boy, and there's great Homelander moments. And then the orgy scene was just funny, and just in general, just that whole episode was just a funny concept. They continue to surprise. They have the right jokes at the right parts, and enough blood splatter. That's their thing now. If it's just blood splatter, and I love it. So I think the combination of how he was brought into the mix, where his storyline went, and how it inevitably affected all the characters, the fight, and the struggle of the temporary human power moment, and like just a standard being addicted to drugs, but like, just like that element in the season 3 as well, I thought was good. I'm trying like to omit names in case somebody actually wants to still watch it at this point. But there is that in that season. Diabolical brought a good animated version to the mix. Certain episodes were better than others. One that was a standout to me was one where it showed Homelander, like early Homelander, arriving at a hostage scene, and things go kind of awry for him, where he accidentally kills a hostage, and then the hostage.
Like every scene that he's in?
Everyone.
But like, what stuck with me is that in that particular Diabolical episode, he was actually sorry for once, and it showed what hate and intensity and anxieties did to him. So as a reaction of receiving negative feedback, whether it's messing up a hostage situation or just not getting enough likes on a social network, he just reacts by getting violent, angry, childish, and small, for somebody who is the most powerful thing on the planet. So I thought the combination of that and just the entire Soldier Boy arc brought season 3 up for me. So I thought it deserved to be on my list at 6.
It's a good pick. I like The Boys. I always forget, like that was a little bit earlier in the year-ish. Yeah. So I always kind of forget about the early ones. So that one may actually have ended up on my list if I would have remembered. But for whatever reason, I didn't have it written down. Number 6 for me is going to be Peacemaker. John Cena. I just absolutely love this show to death. I think it's hilarious. It proves that they can do DC stuff correct. I know we have at least I personally have a lot of faith in James Gunn turning the DC universe around, but I think this is a good start. I felt like I knew right away from the theme song.
Yeah.
Like the dancing theme song, I was like, I'm going to love this show. And it was such a blast to watch. I don't remember the actor who plays his dad, but he was phenomenal as like a white supremacist, just a complete unlikable character. But yeah, everybody in that show did such a great job. So yeah, Peacemaker is like memorable for me. I'll be watching that again for sure.
And then for me at top 4, which we've already kind of
5.
talked about. Sorry, top 5. My apologies. Top 5 for me is Reacher. Reacher does come up at 5 there.
All right.
I did love Reacher that much. Like, and I guess it's more or less other stuff for me of like that actor came from Blue Mountain State as the most raunchiest, funniest TV show that I still remember ever watching.
Yeah.
And
Show's
now
great.
he kills
that
it.
That show is great.
He kills it as Reacher. And it's just one of those TV shows that, like, I watched Jack Ryan hoping it was Reacher, but it's not. And then
Yes.
Reacher is what I want out of it. You know, it's just something a lot more fast paced. Um, and just overall, he's such an interesting character in the beginning because he's a nomad, and
Yep.
it's just funny how a nomad finds his way into doing all of this stuff because of the connection of his brother's death. So
Right.
he just finds himself here and with all that comes with it, it just a lot of fun, good action ensues. I don't really care for the girl interest in this show, hence why it's not a little bit higher up. It maybe if they fleshed it out a bit more, it'd be different. But that's the only reason it's not higher for me, is because it like, not that she's a bad actress or anything like that, but kind of the relationship between the two is like just really a fling, and then it's kind of washed over, which, you know, it might have felt a little bit more climactic had that relationship felt a bit more real, or that relationship felt a bit more, I guess, at stake, or where there was something at stake.
It's fair.
Yeah. So number 5 for me. I looked at this and I was like, not sure if I'm crazy for putting it at 5, but it's Welcome to Wrexham.
Okay. Good show.
Rob McElhenney, Ryan Reynolds. I mean, you pair them together, they're funny. They're funny separately. They've been funny their whole entire professional careers, and probably funny when they were even before they were professional. But I enjoyed the purchase of the team, the struggles that they showed. I'll tell you, gentlemen and listeners and viewers, what I really enjoyed about it. I enjoyed the Wrexham focus.
Mm-hmm.
They dove into the lives of the people of that town and this resurrection, a hopeful resurrection, which I would say resurrection of their soccer team. How it did a good job for us over in the States to show how much a club affects the economy of
Soccer
a region.
wins, baby.
Soccer wins. I mean, like, we're so focused on so many different sports in the US, and then as soon as you leave the US, soccer is the dominant sport across the world, and for a reason. People have lived and died because of that sport, you know? And it's really kind of interesting, and I commend the two of them for, while still throwing in their own comedic portion of them trying to run this club from afar, they really spent a lot of minutes focusing on the people on the actual team. What do they do when they leave? Like, who has a kid, who doesn't have a kid, who leaves the team, who came on the team? You know, they had to make cuts because eventually you have to win. And they didn't feel good about it, but they still had to. They brought on some stars to try to bring it up. And soccer's the kind of sport you can bring on one player and change everything. A lot more so than a lot of other sports. But I was quite moved by certain episodes, and then I was cracking up by other ones. You know, they had an episode where it was just them doing like a PSA, almost like just to Wrexham.
Yeah.
And I think that it was a great combination of different genres put into one. You know, I had a bunch of different emotions while I was watching it, is what I mean. And that's my number 5.
Now you need to take the next step and watch Sunderland Till I Die, and then you can become a Sunderland fan just like me.
Yeah.
That show was the turning point for me to enjoy soccer. It really was, where I watched those 2 seasons and I was like, I can totally get behind. This is a team I can get behind, even though I don't live there, and I can fully support, because I feel like after 2 seasons of watching this team, I am emotionally involved in what happens to this team. But that's the next step for you.
I'll definitely
get into that.
Definitely.
I love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I even it's gotten so bad that I'm buying FIFA now, and I never bought FIFA just so I can play as Sunderland. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get him to the Premier League.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 5 is we finally got the culmination of all the seasons of Better Call Saul. Breaking Bad is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And Better Call Saul is almost as good as it. It's really close. When that show first started, I watched the first couple episodes and then I stopped because I was like, I don't really care about a TV show about Saul Goodman. I don't care about the lawyer. He's such a minor character in Breaking Bad. But then this past year, I went back and watched all the seasons, and then the final new one that came out this year. And there's so many things that get tied into Breaking Bad, up until the point that you get to see Walter White and all of them in a couple episodes. And it's just done so well and makes you care about Saul Goodman as a character. I know it's got a lot of praise from everybody, but man, is it such a just phenomenal TV series. If you like Breaking Bad, for sure, it's one you have to watch.
Yeah, I'm so intimidated by that series. Like, I feel like I would like it, but I'm so intimidated because it feels like, and as an anime fan, like people will get like One Piece sort of things. Like, there's so many episodes of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul to have to watch that it's like, when do I ever have time to put like that amount of time sink into anything? Considering that I also have 100-hour JRPG time sinks. That I'm currently
I think
working
like
through.
what works so well for me is I had like it was on my list of like I need to watch Better Call Saul. So what I did was I watched Breaking Bad again first.
Yeah.
And then I went and watched Better Call Saul. And then since it was so fresh in my mind, you see all the little Easter eggs that they put in like every single episode. And you're like, oh, I remember that person. Oh, I remember that thing. It makes it so much better. So you have to watch both, but it is intimidating.
Yeah. That's what I'll have to do. It is intimidating, but I need to go back and watch. Breaking Bad is still one of my top 5 television shows of all time.
Yep.
And the fact that Better Call Saul was done so well, and you're not the only one who's mentioned it, Craig, but like you're just kind of like an icing on the cake by you putting it there.
Sure.
So I need to do a run of both of those.
Set aside like 3 months of your time.
Right.
Yeah.
So number 4 now. Now we're at
Now we're at 4.
Now we're at 4. The reason I had done that was because Peacemaker was number 4
nice.
for me.
Shabalinks.
It is, and kind of Craig has said it as well, but I do personally believe like this TV show is the reason why DC is giving James Gunn the keys to it. Because,
and the Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah, and the Suicide Squad movie as well. Like,
yes,
they are such. They're so much more out of the box than what we're getting out of Marvel right now.
Yeah.
That James Gunn's spin on everything is just like good comedic timing, which is something Marvel kind of isn't good at other than the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which James Gunn directs. So you get that punchline to it, and it's just, and I was just overall floored by the fact that like I could care about this Peacemaker character that is funny and has a lot of fun in the Suicide Squad movie, but in the end he is a dick, and
he's a villain.
Yeah, he's a villain, and it's fun to watch him just because he's this villain that overall is, you end up caring about him, which I guess is which is kind of the whole next step for me as to why I like this show so much, is that John Cena plays it so spectacularly, and kind of the flips and twists of that TV show aren't exactly something that I think you can call. And I thought like that final episode was such a fun, and those cameos, like the cameos for it just make it even funnier, knowing what like DC has now had to do with like almost canning every single project. So that's why that's again why it's just so much fun. Peacemaker, HBO Max definitely is putting their stuff toward DC, and it's just a lot of fun, and I enjoy it.
It's the further proof that DC is willing to go mature with their content, and Marvel is not as much.
Yeah.
And they really need to lean into that, because that's the difference maker. They can be the adult comic book, like I don't know about you guys, but like I always enjoyed reading like the super dark like Batman comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
like the super violent, and like that's what I want out of DC, and that's what Peacemaker and Suicide Squad is. That's what they need to do, not just directly be like, let's make PG-13, movies to compete with Marvel. You don't need to. Give me this. I mean, Peacemaker was 6 for me, but it's higher than, spoiler, I guess, it's higher than any other Marvel thing on my TV show list this year.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's what we want, is like that. What you challenge your audience when you go that dark route,
Yeah.
And it's not about the cheap laughs or necessarily all of the action scenes. It actually allows you to tap more into the humanity of what it's like to be these people. I mean, that's why Batman or like, certain other DC characters are enticing anyway, but then like that's where that's the route they should take, because you shouldn't go budget for budget with Marvel. Like just kind of keep, like, I mean, have your budget. Like, it's not like they're spending $2 on these movies, but but go that dark route, keep giving it to us, and just give Gunn the keys. Like,
Yep.
just let him do whatever he wants, and just like point him in this direction and let him just like fly with it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, where are we at? Is
Four.
it me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. You're number 4.
Sorry, I'm thinking about James Gunn. Sorry, James Gunn. 4 for me. I don't know if it'll surprise you that it's this high. Is She-Hulk.
Nice.
She-Hulk
Okay.
is 4 for me. Very revitalizing series for me. It's funny because we were just talking about DC, but like what I enjoyed with this series is not just the comedy, but I also enjoyed the dark side of this, which they clouded with a lot of self-deprecating comedy and, breaking walls and such like that. How does somebody like She-Hulk or any superhero try to date? What's it like? Especially because she's one of the superheroes that's actually outed from the start.
Right.
in that way. So everybody knows who she is out the gate. And I thought they did a good job, again, with the comedy of also showing what the struggles are of actually being a named by face, know your alias superhero. Gives me flashbacks of what the whole Civil War dispute's about, with the Iron Man side versus Captain America side there, or at least that part.
Yep.
So I thought they did a great job. I'm excited to see, like, it made me want to see more stuff that she's in. And it was just, I liked it from start to finish. And Craig, you said it earlier too, last episode, like just that,
So good.
that was just like, I loved it. So that's 4 for me.
Okay. Number 4 for me is gonna be Stranger Things. I don't know how they continue to just like every season gets better, and I always expect like, all right, this is the season where it's gonna not live up to expectations, but somehow they always manage to be like step it up and make it that much better. I mean, for me, like the ending in the mall in what was that, season 3, 2, 3? I don't even remember anymore. 3, because we just did 4. I was like, there's no way you're going to be able to. You're not going to be able to top this. And then to come out with this season and to top it, I was just like, man, whatever they're doing, like give those guys all the money in the world to make whatever they want to make after Stranger Things, because their minds are working at a different level than everybody else's. Yeah, I mean, the fact that I absolutely loved it, but there's still 3 other shows that I think are better is crazy to me. But that's just the way it worked out. Stranger Things it almost seems like when you recommend it, people are like, yeah, everybody recommends that, but like there's a reason. It's just phenomenally made. Absolutely phenomenally made.
It is.
Yeah, and for me, number 3 is Stranger Things. So I'm just right behind you there with it. Stranger Things for me, like, just to go into a little bit further detail, I didn't really get into Stranger Things until this recent season came out. Binged all of it, and then binged all this series, and it was like, yeah, it is really good. It is worth every little bit. It is funny is I still think, is it the last season before this one, I still think I liked a little bit more, but this one just delivers an epic moments with like the really good one-shot sequence that they do in the house while it's getting raided. The Master of Puppets, I still thoroughly enjoy the Master of Puppets scene. It is
so good.
That very rarely do you get something that kind of feels that good, and that
goosebumps.
Yeah, that entire like last 2 episodes there were just like all of these things coming together in such a really good way, and that's why, like, for me again, and as Craig says too, like, it's hard for me to believe that there were 2 other things above me for this, but that is, and I feel like it is, and for me, I feel like I want to recommend things that not everybody has seen, which is maybe why it's not higher, but
sure.
you know, if this season, if the next season of Stranger Things just builds on this, if it's that good, you can't force it from not being number one there.
Right.
If that next season's as good as kind of the rumors say it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think this
That's
is the
well
last
said.
one, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
one
it's
coming
the
up.
last one.
Okay. I'm ready.
And we have our villain. Good Lord.
Yes, we do.
We've got our villain. So number 3 for me is Blackbird.
Wow. Really high up.
I thought they did an incredible job. And Paul Walter Hauser, who played like the supposed killer, not to ruin anything for you guys there.
Yeah.
The high-pitched voice coupled with that, through his eyes you can't tell what's going on or if anything's going on half the time, but like he also appeared smarter than he seems. I thought it was well acted. I thought the story content was good, and I was trying to figure out why it was so high on my list, and then I remembered it's because it's like True Detective. It's like season 1 True Detective's villain was like, when they found him, when they detected to him, was quite
when they detected him, detected him.
when they truly detected him and didn't just walk by him as he was mowing a lawn, or I think that was the scene. He was like right there and plain as day. I got similar vibes, and that show was incredible in its own right. At least that first season of that show. You can argue about the others definitely, but I think that's why it hit me, is because it gave me vibes, but it was its own show in its own right. So that one's number 3 for me. Everybody, I recommend you watch it. It's a mini series, which will help.
Yeah.
When you see mini series, you're like, I'll finish that quicker.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, yeah, you can get through it pretty quick.
You can. It's like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
They're all like an hour.
Number 3 for me is Ozark. I think, personal opinion here, for me, this is one of the top 10 TV shows of all time. It's just like everything about it is phenomenal. Jason Bateman kills it. His wife, Laura Linney, you know how like people have the ability to play a character that you just hate them to their core, almost to the point where you end up hating the actor or actress. She does such a phenomenal job of making you think she's just one of the worst human beings in the world. And like every time I would see her in a scene, I'm like, oh my God, I want her character to be killed off. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that takes a lot. And then Ruth from the show, which I had to look it up because I forgot her name, Julia Garner, is like, for me, carries the show. Phenomenal job. It's one that like I've been trying to get my wife to watch it, but her problem is she doesn't like Laura Linney, and she's so hateable in that show that she can't watch the show because she hates her so much, like her character.
Got it.
And it's, man, I cannot recommend this TV show enough because it is just absolutely phenomenal. I came to it late this year. It was already a couple seasons in. And then they did the last season. Man, I got through those like 3 or 4 seasons like so quick. Man, such a phenomenal show.
We're now into the top 2.
Yeah.
Top 2 for me is Blackbird. I had a feeling it would come down to this portion of things with it, but as Craig C said earlier, it was like, for me it's higher because it's just something I took a chance on. I had recently got a friend's Apple TV like Plus, because he has Apple Music and everything, and he has iPhones. I have all Android, hence why I'm left out of the walled garden. So it's funny to, like, for me, I seem to have hopped and crossed my way into the walled garden in a way, and then I found Blackbird. It's like, oh, this is what's in the garden.
What is this? Yeah,
one single Blackbird in the walled city.
Yeah, it is just so wonderfully acted, and for me, that finale was just so worth it. Like, you know that it's based off of true events, so you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen, but Taron Egerton's like desperation like in that final episode is like, I was like, wow, this is like, because you kind of wonder what's going to happen to his character toward the end. Like there's this 50-50 shot of like, okay, what's going to happen to you that I'm so invested in, because he's the guy that, you know, kind of redeems himself throughout the entire thing. Yeah, he, you know, we don't know much about his life before he got put into jail, other than he sold guns and drugs. So,
Right.
you know, you get there at that point, but his redemption in that final episode was so worth it. And just all of the actors there, I thought, did a fantastic job. And you're right, like season 1 True Detective is what it made me feel like, and it just, you know, it again, it's that surprise factor for me where I was like, oh, Taron Egerton, I like him, let's watch this. And then I was like, wow, this is so much better than anything I would have thought.
Yeah.
When he spent so much time just memorizing all of that, just and when they get to him and he's just like, give me a pen.
Yeah.
Like
using his blood.
That's the part I'm talking about. Like he draws it in his blood, and a part of me is like, do they find it after he goes mentally insane, or do they find like there's a twist of he lives, goes mentally insane, or dies there? And I was like, I didn't know which one it was going to go with, so I'm just glad that I'm glad that it was a satisfying one. But even if it had gone the other directions, where, and I guess spoiler, you know, so be it. Even if it had gone like mentally insane or the death direction, it probably still would have been just as satisfying to see, like the fall of the killer. And overall, like, we don't get to see him a lot, but Ray Liotta, who is also a very talented actor, this is one of the last things we get to see him in before he dies. So it's just also quite incredible that it's with something for me that is so good for him, because he's tied to a lot of really good TV shows and movies.
Casino.
Oh yeah, and he can still deliver a line. Goodfellas,
yeah, Goodfellas especially.
Man,
wow. Sorry, I'm just taken aback by that. So, number 2 for me is Stranger
Yep.
I knew it was up there somewhere.
What can I say that hasn't been already said? I won't take too much time on it. What else can they do? How like they can just deliver the world. And I started Stranger Things telling people how awesome the soundtrack was, and how like it's a really good, like if you like it with the children all being together and like trying to overcome an evil vibe, by like look how far they've transitioned from season 1. And I cannot wait for the final season. It's going to be sad that it is, but like all great things, I mean, like Breaking Bad have a small amount of seasons.
Yep.
You know, so like when you guys said 3, I just was like, oh man, I have to say 3, but like they'll be okay because I'll say 2 in a second. Like, you know what I mean? So Stranger Things number 2, you guys put the not theories, but the arguments to bed. So
yeah,
that's my number 2.
So my number 2 won't come as a surprise to Barry here.
Yeah.
My number 2 is The Bear. I mean, we've all talked about this show a lot, and I mean a lot, but what a great show that has no business being as good as it is. Taking a show about a small restaurant and just making it so entertaining. Man, I'm still a little torn. I'm going to be honest that they're doing another season. I almost feel like they should just stop because I don't want them to ruin it. I will give them the benefit of the doubt and hope that it is a good second season. But it was such a good, in my opinion, perfect ending that we don't need more. But I don't want to say a whole lot because I'm sure it's coming up for at least one of you. Such a phenomenally well done show. Not very long. Those episodes are short. And still, to like when I look back at it, that like the shortest episode, which is like 15 minutes or less.
Yeah.
That's just that meltdown with the dinner service is just perfection in my opinion. But yeah, that's my number 2.
All right, well, I won't then delve too much into it more, but The Bear is my number 1. To capture the restaurant business in a way like, and I think a lot of us know this about me as well, is I worked in the restaurant business for 7+ years. I held a lot of positions in there. And then on top of it too, and this is a bit more on a personal note, but recently I worked at one restaurant my entire life, hence why I know a lot of that like business portion of thing there. But it recently closed down forever this year, it seems like. So to hear that and then to think about my opinion on the bear, like I guess it's because it struck such an emotional chord with me, with where a lot of who I am today is because of sequences in the bear, like in the
Yeah.
restaurant where
Yep.
it's all of the back yelling at each other, all of the chaos that comes with trying to, serve customers. And mine, like their restaurant was so much smaller and they're so much more tight knit, where the one that I worked at was a bit larger and not so much like takeout, a lot more of like dining in and stuff like that. But the stress and the management, like it shaped me to like to do things that I do today. And
Yeah.
I never thought a TV show would capture like that restaurant in a way. And Craig mentioned it as well. I kind of wish they weren't making a second season as well. Like I'll come out and say that right now. I love the way it ended. I really think like the person who watched it should have came up with their own ending at that point as well. But let's just hope it's not just about a meltdown on Uber Eats or, any of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not that, but
Yeah.
the bear is like has no business being as good as it is, and it is one of the best television shows I've ever watched. And who would have thought that something from Hulu, I guess for me, is what ends up on there. So
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't watch a lot of Hulu, so that's why it's surprising to me too.
Well, number one for me is the bear.
Yeah,
It's the bear.
We almost got a match on all of our number ones.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't. It's like they in a nutshell. I have not myself worked in a restaurant business. My wife has definitely held a bunch of positions in the restaurant / bar industry in time. So, and I've had a lot of friends like Barry, for example. Craig, didn't you have some time in the restaurant?
I had like 6 years. Yep.
So I've not. I don't want to say lived vicariously, but I've had enough stories told to me or situations explained to me that like I was at least able to connect somebody in my life to like every single part of the bear. And between that and like some of the things I already mentioned, I don't have to dive too into it, but I do have to mention that 15-minute scene again. Think about the cojones that you have to be as a director, writer, to think that, hey, we haven't been doing these short of an episodes. This isn't like The Simpsons or like something that is already designated to be 15 to 20 minutes with commercials, Office, things like that. We're going to put in a 15-minute episode and it's going to land and it's going to be enough to be able to let you know what's going on in that moment. And it's just shot and it's incredible. And the cast does a great job. And what more can I say about it? It's the show of the year for me, and I'm struggling to think of many shows in the last 5 years that topped it for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now,
So
you're number one.
What is your number one, Craig? I thought the bear was going to be.
No, my number one is, I will boldly state, is the best television show on TV right now, by far. It's Yellowstone.
Oh boy, yeah, man. I really need to get into Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
Know I do.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
And
this is why I put it at number one. Yellowstone made me care about a ranch when I could care less about cattle or like the Western way of life at all. It's the characters in the show are all done extremely well. Kevin Costner's phenomenal. But it's not only that, it's the fact that I could rope together. Taylor Sheridan is the guy who created Yellowstone. And he has managed to have 4 seasons of Yellowstone. Plus, he did a spinoff called 1883, which involves the Dutton family, which is the Yellowstone family, in the 1800s, and now has just started 1923, which is also the Dutton family.
Oh,
So he
okay.
keeps putting out all these shows. Meanwhile, Yellowstone is still hitting. But yeah, it's just like, it's kind of like The Bear, where it's like a show that I looked at and I was like, I have no interest in watching that show at all. It seems dumb. But once I started, I was immediately hooked. And now I'm just like, I have to watch every single episode of everything Taylor Sheridan does, even to the
Yeah.
point that he has another show on Paramount right now, The Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone, which is Sylvester Stallone is like a mafia guy.
Yeah.
That I'm just going to assume is in the same universe, even though it's not stated.
Yeah.
That I'm just going to assume he's in Tulsa and the Duttons are up in Montana. But I don't know, the way he's writing this and the way they're filming this is just so engrossing to me that like it's literally something that I tell everybody you have to watch, even if you're like me, and watch like the trailer for the show and be like, there's no way I would like that. Still try it, because I can almost guarantee that it's gonna land for you for sure.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So there you guys go. Just our personal opinions, because we all have different tastes. There, I guess if you want like a top 3, you could probably put Stranger Things, The Bear, and you know that number 3, I guess, is kind of what's interesting there.
You can put The Bear twice. Just put The Bear twice.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. So
It's pretty good.
we have that. Hopefully you guys find something to like out of everything we admitted. You know, there's a lot of sharing toward the top, but I feel like our bottoms were kind of all over the place in a way.
They were.
So now we'll get on to our movie of the year with our top 10 lists. All right, part 2, movie of the year discussions. We each have our own top 10 lists. This one I'm excited for. This should be interesting. There's a lot of
I feel like we're going to be completely opposite on a lot of these.
I don't know. I feel like we're going to run into the same. We're going to have a lot of the same in like the top area, but I feel like our bottoms are all over the place for sure. So with that being said, I'll start because my number 10 is definitely
You don't
out
have
there.
honorable mentions?
No, yeah, you know what? I got honorable mentions. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah,
We'll do honorable
I
mentions.
need those honorable
Sorry,
mentions.
my bad.
All right.
I have 5 honorable mentions.
I have quite a bit
Wow.
as well.
Yeah.
Honorable mentions for me: Sonic the Hedgehog,
Okay.
Ambulance. I should say Sonic the
Yes.
Hedgehog 2. If before that, The Bad Guys, animated there, and Pinocchio are all in my top mentions there.
Which one?
Pinocchio, the Guillermo del Toro.
Okay.
Not
Not the Disney one.
Not the Disney one.
Yes, specifically, please take note of that, y'all.
Yes, don't watch the Disney one.
And I think like if there's anything to talk about with a lot of them, I feel like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie 2 is just better than the first, and I'm glad like we're getting a good video game adaptation in a way. The Bad Guys I didn't expect to like as much as it did. It is a really fun animated heist kind of bad guy literally movie. And then Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, I was just seeing a bunch of reviews of it. I hadn't seen stuff about Pinocchio in a while, but like one, it is pretty engrossing. I loved the movie, and I love the stop motion stuff. Much like I think Wendell and what was the I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Craig, it's your daughter's favorite movie, the Wendell and
Oh yeah. Oh man, I'm blanking too.
yeah, dang it, I know Wendell. I can't remember the second one. So be it though.
That was the Key and Peele one.
Yeah, but it's a lot like that stop motion type thing is just so fascinating to me, and the more I learn about it, the more I appreciate those types of movies. It's so much hard work, and to think that people are willing to go through that much of work to produce a movie is just incredible to me. And Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is one of those ones that it's a different type of telling in Pinocchio. I do admit, like, the songs in it aren't very catchy. I was more toward, like, everything else going on in Pinocchio, hence why I didn't make my top 10. But I can't help it. I have to mention and talk about that one, because it was so close to being on my top 10.
Sure.
So I guess honorable mentions for me would be Spirited. I thought that was a great take on a nice I guess holiday movie. I wanted to say holiday in general, even though there was a lot of Christmas in there.
Yep.
I want to go a little bit different with an honorable mention. I just wanted to do honorable mention like worst movie of the year.
Okay.
Because I think you would agree, Craig.
Yeah.
It is Samaritan. You just reminded me when you said Sylvester Stallone. Samaritan.
It's
Worst movie of the
terrible.
year.
Yeah.
Worst superhero movie of all time. Worst movie of the year.
Yep.
So I just had to go in there with that. And then the last honorable mention of honor and not worse honor is Troll. Just snuck out of my top 10. Great take on a monster movie. We don't get too many good takes on a monster movie anymore. So it was really nice to kind of see that. I'm all about the Scandinavian Peninsula with their movies in general. We talked about that on a prior show, I think, when we talked about Troll, and I think they did it right. It's just kind of nice seeing just a large monster destroying the world or destroying a certain area, like it actually being done well. So that's
okay. I also had Troll in my honorable mention. I feel like it needs to be given something so that they continue to make these type of movies. Another one I have here is I'm assuming you pronounce it as triple R, but that is a I forget where it was made, India, I believe. And the fact that they make these action movies, this is like a 3.5 hour action epic, and they just throw all the money they have at this thing. It's over the top, like you would expect. It's crazy, but I had so much fun watching that movie. And that's another thing. Like, I want them to keep making these types of movies because it's just like that out there type of action you don't get over here. You don't get the like dude running on everybody's head and like running up a wall. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get that anymore. So that was one. Another one was Wrath of Man with Jason Statham. I thoroughly enjoyed that movie a lot. I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves as far as acting goes because he's just been like the action guy for so long.
Yep.
So that was one. Another one was the Tony Hawk documentary, Until the Wheels Fall Off. Such a phenomenal job showcasing his life and all the struggles that he went through. And then my last honorable mention, and make sure you watch Barry's face when I say this one, is The Batman. Good movie, but I think it could have been better. I just wanted to see.
Look at Barry's face.
Man, I just can't help but think what your list is now. Like, it's like, is my taste that bad?
No, it's
No.
what I like
I
about
know.
everybody's movie is our tastes are so different.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it could have been a little bit better. And like for me, it's 11. So it's like right underneath that. And I had a hard time with it, but I enjoyed it. I think it's a little too long and could be a little bit brighter. I hate the DC dark.
Barry, your face, man. Like when this episode drops on YouTube, I'm gonna have to just like screenshot or like just like clip your face because it could be a meme.
I knew when I put that in there that you were gonna be like, what?
Okay.
Yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Let's get to number 10.
Yeah.
Now that you're thrown off your game, let's do it.
But to go off with throwing off my game and everybody's taste is different, the one and only anime movie on my list is Belle. It is a really fun, kind of, I want to say, internet story or internet take on Beauty and the Beast. It's not like as lovey-dovey, but there are some really good like original songs that I have on my phone that I listen to, while working or while working out, and it's just like a really good tale about how kind of people how people hide behind their personalities on the internet, and people like say mean things, people do other things, and you never know what's going on the other side of the person like you're either making fun of on the internet or bullying on the internet, and that's even more prevalent now than ever before, especially because when we were growing up the internet was in its early stages and people at least made fun of you to your face. Now it's all on internet, and now it's all backdoor texts and everything like that. So if I could recommend that at least you guys at least try one anime movie this year, I really want people to watch Belle. I really want people to give Belle a shot.
That's another movie that's been played quite a bit in my household this year from my daughter.
HBO Max.
She loves Belle.
Yeah, HBO Max as well. You don't have to go too far for it.
Yeah. It's a great movie.
Okay. So number 10 for me.
Is the Batman.
The Batman. No, it didn't even make his list.
Yeah, right.
Non-honorable mentions for me is the Batman. It's the
Worst-
Batman.
Worst movie of the year, The Batman.
Number 10 for me, and I apologize to everybody for how many scary or weird movies are on my list,
you don't
but
have
like
to
I told you, the
apologize.
household,
Yeah.
it is Halloween Ends.
Okay.
It was a nice end
To Halloween.
to a very precisely.
Yeah.
Is a nice end to Halloween. Specifically, what I liked is they kind of created somebody separate that could have been a villain. I know it's argued on both sides that like they essentially created a successor to the throne, and then they, spoiler alert, they killed him in the movie.
Nobody's ever dead in these movies, though.
Nobody's ever dead in these movies, number one. And I shouldn't feel bad about a spoiler alert because who's watching that like on New Year's Eve? It's just not a New Year's Eve movie.
It's not.
Darn, I'll have to take it out of my rotation.
Yeah. But also shout out to like the Jamie Lee Curtis side too. It's an end to that that part, and I'm interested to see where Halloween goes from here, but I thought it was well done enough, and I thought that it had a great opening scene for some particular reason where they kind of threw you off as well, but I thought it was well done enough that it deserved to be number 10. But there were horror or weirder movies that struck a chord with me a lot better. So that's why it's number 10 for me.
You know, it's funny too that I didn't like the successor angle that they went with. I didn't like I didn't like the kid. So for me, that's what like not turned me off, but I was just kind of like, eh.
Was he too whiny for you? Was he too
was
too
Hugo?
He was too Hugo.
Was he too Hugo?
He was. I don't know. To me, I'm like,
Thank
Michael Myers is Michael Myers, right? And just to have like, I don't know. And the fact that he was like, almost bullying him around was weird to me.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird choice, but I am interested to see where they go with it. Number 10 for me is gonna be Hustle with Adam Sandler. Absolutely love. I mean, I love basketball, so for me, I was like, it's a basketball movie with Adam Sandler, and it heavily revolves around the Sixers. So I was in, like, from the trailer, and I think it was just a well done sports movie. Once again, proving that Adam Sandler can act, despite what everybody thinks. Uncut Gems was another one where I just thought he was phenomenal. So him getting to actually act every once in a while instead of doing, you know, he does all these movies where he's just taking his friends to Hawaii and making a crappy movie for Netflix. It's nice to see him actually like try. But yeah, I absolutely love Hustle.
Okay.
Hustle's good. I can agree with that. So then on to number 9 for everyone. My number 9 is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
Really, really, this one I got to recently watch, and I'm really happy I did. It is such a fun, the time travel aspect to it is just all of this juggling around, and surprisingly how much I was able to follow it, I guess, is kind of what I also enjoyed. The action, of course, and it is just also over the top and so much fun, which I find I like in a lot of movies. And this one does it better than I think most this year as well. So just keep that in mind. I definitely think, is that in streaming? Can you stream that movie yet or no?
I don't think it is yet.
Yeah, hopefully it's streamable soon. I want more people to watch it, and I feel like because this movie didn't get like a Netflix, like it wasn't on Netflix or any of the streaming platforms, that not enough people have watched this movie yet.
Yeah.
So I
agreed.
Definitely feel that they need to. So hopefully that gets added somewhere.
So my number 9 is Love Lizzo, documentary on Lizzo. I know I talked about it recently within the past couple of podcasts that we had, but I just really it was interesting to see for somebody in that particular part of fame in her career, like what she had to go through. It was more of it. it's number 9 for me because I feel like I'm just like a sucker for touching stuff this year. Hence my Wrexham ranking and things like that. And so it was just kind of nice to see what she had to go through on the come up and why she is so why she portrays being happy with yourself, your body, who you are, and such like that. She's entertaining too, so you're never really going to have a scene or something where it's kind of boring because she's just so outspoken. She redefines how to use the B word and to make it sound cool. So like you got that going, but that's number 9 for me. Just kind of like a real nice outlook on just Lizzo's life in particular, and why she is who she is, and champions self love the way that she does.
Nice. I still have it on my list to watch. I just haven't yet. So many things on the list.
Oh, so many things.
My number 9 is a Roku original.
I've been meaning to watch this movie. I really need to.
Weird. The Al Yankovic story. We've said it before, but like Weird Al is such a huge part of my childhood. And you knew when they were making this movie and he was involved that it was going to be crazy. And I just love the fact that pretty much the only thing that's true about this movie is that he got an accordion when he was a kid. That's about the only thing that is historically accurate about this movie. But it's so crazy. It's so over the top. It has his songs in there. And man, it's just, I don't know if you like, I've mentioned it before, but his movie way back in the day, UHF, was like another huge part of my childhood. And I don't feel like very many people watch that movie. But it's just his like stupid style of humor that just works for me and doesn't work with a lot of other people. But for whatever reason, when he does it, I'm just like dying on the ground laughing. So
yeah,
such a great movie. Weird.
Perfect. Number 8 for me is going to be All Quiet on the Western Front, Netflix original. Okay. I am a sucker for these movies. I have to have one in my top 10, and it's just old fashioned, like, you know, old time like war movie where it kind of just focuses on just a couple people and kind of tells you their stories as well. And overall, just All Quiet on the Western Front, like, I really have to recommend if you're looking for.
Now, did you watch it with the dubbed or with subtitles?
Subtitles.
Okay, me too.
Okay.
Yeah, I started with the dub and I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, it's
very weird.
And like for someone for me who watches anime, like you'd think like watching dub and sub aren't that big a deal, but for me it is weird. Like, at least when I'm watching something in real life, like in a person act it, dub is just so strange. It's why it's why like last year or 2 years ago, like Squid Game. Like, I had to watch that in sub because I don't know what it is, but when their lips aren't matching what they're saying, my brain is just
distracting.
My brain is
throws you off.
Planet.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right, 8 for me is Vengeance, the BJ Novak movie. Just as a kind of a refresher, BJ Novak is, I guess, half of a womanizer, kind of a womanizer, whatever. But he gets a call from from somebody who is related to somebody that he used to date when he was like a couple of dates, that kind of thing, like a random hookup. He ends up getting roped into going down to a funeral in Texas for somebody that he really doesn't know, and meets the family and everything like that. But then it slowly turns into a murder mystery because the family of that dead hookup don't believe that she died of natural causes. So nice bit of humor. Issa Rae is in it. Ashton Kutcher is also in it. Ashton Kutcher actually does a pretty good job acting in it. Not saying that he's terrible in everything that he's done, but he's not necessarily pegged as a Oscar winner. True. But I like BJ Novak. BJ Novak, I've liked everything that he's kind of put his hands on since The Office. Since I found out, I don't know if anybody actually pays attention to the credits of The Office, but when you find out he's actually a producer, you know, that blew my mind the first time. And ever since then, I've kind of wondered where his mind is going. So when this movie was announced, I was excited to get into it. It's definitely not a top 1 for me, but it's definitely a top 8. A lot of Texan nuances and stuff like that that you can learn about if you're not necessarily a Texan yourself. My wife is from Texas, so um, there was definitely some things that we could make a correlation to there. So nice combination of a whodunit plus nice comedy in there as well. And that's my 8.
Okay. My number 8 is going to be Clerks 3.
Ooh.
Kevin Smith kind of wrapping up that Clerks trilogy. I have kind of always been a sucker for Kevin Smith, but I was caught off guard with how emotional this movie was. And, that he has changed, almost having died from a heart attack. His kind of mentality on what he writes about and what he makes has changed. And I've loved the Clerks movies forever. I recommend them to everybody. I just don't think they get enough credit that they deserve. And Clerks 3 was a nice way to wrap up that storyline for everybody, and was just a funny but touching movie for me.
Great.
Sweet. My number 7 now is Nope.
Nice.
Nope, it ain't.
I really enjoy what Nope did. It's Jordan Peele, and I know this isn't even his best work, which makes me excited to watch some of his other stuff. But
Yeah.
Nope is just a fun movie, and it's another one of those things where it's kind of outside of my comfort zone, where I usually don't watch something that even remotely is trying to scare me. And I'll admit, the alien scene in it, I was like, oh no. I was like freaking out.
No. Nope.
During that part, but at least like for the rest of the movie, it was kind of like, okay, it's not trying to do that the entire time. So but though it's enjoyable, and the way he shoots it as well is just is really, really just fun in general. And his take on the alien / UFO type thing is just a really fresh take to it. I like it because I thought it was going to be something kind of easy, I guess, or something like that, but it's not. It's just not like that. It's a lot different. That ending is still all over the place. I watched it again, much like you said, Craig, and I see where you're getting at with what the UFO is supposed to symbolize. I do see it, but it's still just like, all right.
Yeah. It's an artistic choice, that's for sure.
That is, yes.
It's definitely an artistic choice.
Yeah.
7 for me is Barbarian. Georgina Campbell, Justin Long, and Bill Skarsgård.
Yep.
When getting an Airbnb goes wrong, it's essentially what they should have named it.
Yep.
Great cast, not a huge cast, which is perfect, but a great interaction between all three of them. This would have been higher on my list in terms of freaky movies, but I guess you can drop some points for what the monster ends up looking like.
Sure.
I don't know. Certain people can argue it. I didn't mind her, especially in the dark portions. But then when they got her out into the light part, you're just kind of like, oh, all right. But in any case, it was a nice take on a movie where you weren't necessarily sure what the bad or the scare monster type thing was going to be. You think it's Bill Skarsgård in the beginning. They do a good job of making him just charming, but also creepy enough to make you think it's him. But then, a totally different movie ensues after the 30th minute. So,
yep.
I also find things interesting when there's a just standard house on top and then just a tunneled labyrinth under it. And you're like, how did that happen? I don't know. Great movie. You guys should watch it. There are definitely maybe other scarier movies that I would recommend, but Barbarian's definitely worth a watch, specifically for how those three acted, to be honest.
Yeah, they did a good job. Number 7 for me is going to be Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Really enjoyed that movie. I liked all the cameos, even though it kind of seems like we're not going to get any of them in future movies. But I enjoyed seeing some Fantastic Four, some Professor X, all that kind of stuff. And I like Sam Raimi getting a chance to do another superhero movie. So it was weird. It was almost like a horror movie at points with everything going on. And I just thought it was a fresh take on Marvel movies. It wasn't the standard formula. So for me, that's a solid 7.
Sick.
All right. We are then looking at number 6. Number 6 for me is Avatar: Way of Water. Kind of
Wow.
snuck under the list here.
Yeah.
Overall, how I feel about the movie, and we also haven't talked about it yet, hence why I won't go too much into it. But Way of Water is cinematography wise, like incredible. Like James Cameron, the water scenes are nuts. And this movie looks pretty from top to bottom. Like there is very little to pick out that doesn't look right or doesn't look cool. The reason it's not higher is because it is slow. There are If you're not invested in the world that James Cameron has built, you will find that these character building moments are boring and not any fun. Like the climactic ending is a lot of fun, and like you're like, okay, that was at least a decent amount of payoff for you. But this movie also runs into the fact that it's trying to follow up a movie from so long ago. Like that movie is what, 8 years old or something like that.
I think it's 10.
Yeah.
10. So
10. It's
for the most part, if you don't watch or haven't watched the Avatar movie since it came out or in recently, you're going to be like, okay, I kind of remember what's going on. And also how they kind of shoe in the big bad this time around is kind of like a haphazard, oh, we're making more of these, I guess I can do this kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. I wasn't the biggest fan of that, but Avatar: Way of Water, where it excels, it excels phenomenally. And
Yeah.
I know it's a long movie. I did have to go to the bathroom once. Will I listen to James Cameron's advice and watch it again while in theaters? Probably not. I'll wait till I can watch it in the comfort of my own home and I can go to the bathroom as many times as I want. But
yeah.
it is such a gorgeous movie. Like and I think almost that alone put it into my like top or my bottom 5 in a way, because it's a movie that like I'm just looking at the screen going, oh my god, is this wonderful? Like it's pretty.
It's the same thing you did when you played Horizon.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
We were like, oh man, this is wonderful.
Oh, this is purty.
I am excited to watch it, but I refuse to watch it in theaters. I will watch it once it's streaming and I don't have to go to the theaters.
Yeah.
I'm in your boat, Craig.
I would do it normally, but he's such an arrogant asshole that I'm just like, I don't want to support him in the theater. Even though he's gonna make his $2 billion regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to watch it in like a month or two, probably.
All right. 6 for me is Prey.
Yes.
A wonderful take, a revitalized. I use that word a lot now that I realize it. A revitalized take on Predators in general. Predator has not had a very successful line of movies, arguably after 2.
Yep.
Aliens versus Predators, you could throw away. I can't successfully rate Predators 2 because I loved it as a kid, so it's always going to be good to me. Mm-hmm. But what they did is they took it and they brought it into a prequel kind of state. And they also kind of added what would it be like if it landed in a Native American style. Not only that, they stayed as true as they could to a Native American, to like by the main character being Native American herself, like the actress. And they did their best to represent that culture. So I thought it was interesting. They made the Predator look even more primitive, just because of the time frame that it actually happened in. So that I thought that was a nice touch. Well shot. And I'm a Predator fanboy. Grew up that way. Aliens and Predator, to be honest. My dad got me into those movies growing up. So it was really nice to see Prey. Personal opinion, 6 for me.
Yeah. Bonus points for them recording it also in the native dialogue of the Native Americans that you can watch as well, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. Number 6 for me is going to be Jackass Forever. Crazy to me that we've come full circle where when those movies and TV shows were first coming out, everybody was like, this is utter trash. This is just for little kids who like toilet humor. And we've now come full circle where these movies are getting highly rated, which I think is hilarious. I just enjoy I enjoy all the people. I feel like I've grown up with them. You know, like I feel like I cried with them when Ryan Dunn died. I rooted with them when Steve-O went to rehab, and like I'm rooting for Bam right now, who's going through rehab as well. And you can tell like the first couple of movies were like they were just getting drunk and doing stupid stuff, and now it's passing the torch on to the younger generation, and just doing more sophisticated stunts. I love all those guys to death. It's such a, just like Weird Al, a big part of my teenage years, and to see them continue to do it and continue to put out these stellar movies that for me are just like, if I really just want to laugh for an hour and a half straight, this is what I'm going to put on time and time again.
Perfect.
We've now entered the top 5 area.
Top
I think
5.
we'll start to see some stuff here that gets said. Number 5 for me is The Northman, though. If anybody knows, like, I think it was maybe a year or two ago, I had The Green Knight on my top 10. The Northman finds its way up there for many similar reasons. The Northman is this wonderfully shot, kind of really weird retelling of like Viking culture and everything like that. Like, I vividly remember this one scene where they're like about to kind of pillage an area, and they literally almost like play it off like they're possessed by wolves, like they're foaming out the mouth and stuff like that. There's all these weird trials that the character goes through. It is much like how Green Knight piqued my curiosity during the movie. Like, you think you know what's going on in this movie, and it's like, oh, it's not really going the way I think it is. Like, you hear about Vikings, and you see the cover of The Northman, you're like, oh, you know, like, you know what Vikings are if you've seen Vikings, played Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You're all like, okay, yeah, I kind of know this. And then you get, 30 minutes into the movie, and you're questioning everything of what's going on, what part's a hallucination, what's not, and everything like that. So, I really found myself enjoying The Northman for a lot of the reasons that I enjoyed The Green Knight, which is kind of the mystery about like how everything goes around this character.
Okay.
I think I started this movie a while ago and I turned it off, I think.
This is the number one movie that I've skipped past and told myself I just have to watch that. I'll just watch it later, and I still feel guilty for that. I got to get to that one. Like, if we had, like, in the gaming section, we had the game I wish I played.
Yep.
Like, the movie I wish I watched was The Northman. Definitely. I need to. Number 5 for me, I don't know if you guys would have guessed this, because I think my list is still a little bit weird till I get to 1 and 2 maybe, is Fresh.
Okay.
Starring my second Sebastian Stan representation for the... He's killing it. He had a good year. Very good. I'm not used to seeing Sebastian Stan like that. He's just very Winter Soldier to me. And I think he turned around and he played essentially a trafficker of human body parts very well. A charming man who meets a nice woman in a fruit aisle or vegetable aisle. I can't remember what aisle they were in, but they go on a date. He brings her back, and then clearly he has like a whole scheme going with his literally almost perfect looking house where he's just purveying human meat and sending it out to the people who are willing to pay for it. So I think he played a great villain, and I was terrified at certain parts because of just how he was able to command the screen. And I think everybody should give it a watch. I think it flew a little bit under certain people's radar, just maybe because you weren't used to seeing that kind of driven film with him in it. But yeah, Fresh is number 5.
All right. My number 5 is going to be The Black Phone.
Yay.
Love that movie to death. Another one that's probably been played 10,000 times in my house this year. So good. Ethan Hawke is such a phenomenal villain in this. Just the way he handles everything. Whereas, like, if you follow the rules, you may actually not have anything bad happen to you, maybe. But I like just a little bit of a supernatural element where he's talking to, the other kids that have been taken. I was super excited for this movie, and it did not disappoint me in the least.
Yeah.
Just a good, I wouldn't call it a horror movie. This is a thriller.
Yeah.
Just keeps your attention and really, really well done story.
Perfect.
Maybe one day I'll watch that. I know you guys have told me to watch it before.
There's like one jump scare. You'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good sign for me.
You watch Nope, you can handle it.
Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right, cool.
We're slowly pulling him into horror movies. Like step by step, we're dragging him in.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a good job. Like that'll be the one thing. You guys know me so well to the point where
Yep.
okay, like let's start him in
Yeah, we'll start you slow.
Yeah, start.
Yep.
Start you slow. Yeah.
And then we'll be like, hey, have you heard of Terrifier?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a good.
I need to get over the fact that I was traumatized by that stuff as a kid. I'm not a kid anymore. That's how I have to feel about it. But next up for me at number 4 is the Glass Onion, a Knives Out story.
Wow.
It recently came out in another movie we haven't talked about yet, but on this podcast, people know me as like I love the whodunit movies. I do really love the following it, and I think Rian Johnson did such a good job with bringing in kind of this whole other. This one is so much more like I feel theatrical in a way than just how Knives Out was, and really they shouldn't even add the Knives Out in this. Yes, Benoit Blanc is still in it, played by Daniel Craig, and the Daniel Craig character is awesome, but the fact that he now loaded up Rian Johnson with all of these other really top tier like actors and actresses, and they pull off their parts accordingly, just makes that movie feel just so much more fun. And again, I am a sucker for whodunit. I just love the way he did Knives Out with like these little carrots that if you pay attention, you can figure it out. Yeah. If you pay attention, that's kind of the key thing that I like is, and then you get time to like go back and they kind of start explaining everything. And you're like, how did I miss that? How did I, not, the one character said this line that I forgot about. And it's like, and that's what keys everything together. So it's that kind of thing for me that I really enjoy. And Glass Onion is a really good follow-up to it. Ana de Armas isn't on it. Also, we want to talk about worst movie of the year. Sorry,
Samaritan.
No,
it's Samaritan.
No,
are you talking about Blonde?
Yeah, sorry, Blonde was.
Oh, talking about Blonde.
You know that almost made it in my top 10.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so bored by that movie. God,
I liked it.
The more
I really liked it.
God, fair enough. I can see why.
So, I will say this, Barry, and see what you think. I still think Knives Out is better than Glass Onion.
I think
so?
I think so too, but I think it's because I like the perspective that Knives Out took with Ana de Armas's character, where you really don't have that character in Glass Onion. So that's where like it kind of makes that difference, where Glass Onion kind of makes Benoit Blanc the center of everything in a way.
Right.
I like Knives Out because Benoit Blanc is kind of in motion with Ana de Armas. And I like the perspective of her character, and in the end, it's just like really satisfying for Ana de Armas' character and how it ends with Knives Out. So Glass Onion is kind of similar, but
super funny too that you said when you were describing it, because Rian Johnson just had an interview where he said that he was pissed that they put a Knives Out story on the title.
Yeah, I don't get it.
He didn't want it in there.
Yeah, I think for the most part, and I guess this isn't about like the top 10 list at all, but I think Netflix, I guess, was worried that people seeing this movie wouldn't know that it's like part of Knives Out, where you could just put in the little blurb right underneath it, from the director of Knives Out is a similar like
is this
because he had said that he just wants it to be Benoit Blanc as your follow through of each movie that he does. Like he is the character that ties all these together, but he wanted them all to be their own experience. So it's not a part of Knives Out, which I totally agree with you on. I just thought it was funny that he was like actually pissed that Netflix put that on there. Yeah.
I understand that. I understand why you'd be pissed. And
Mm-hmm.
also like thinking about the future because he's doing more of these movies because of what Netflix
Yep.
has signed him on for. I'm really enjoying them right now for what they are because at some point do they come predictable? That's what I worry
Yeah.
about.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
I don't
it's just a
think
matter of time.
I think he'll take the time to make sure that they aren't. Maybe if we get like 5 or 6 in, maybe, but I feel like we're safe for another 2 or 3,
I hope so.
hopefully. Yeah.
I hope
Yeah,
that we get 2 more of these and maybe at the 5th one we're like, okay, we can kind of see
Yeah.
it coming now. But I
yeah,
really enjoy these movies for what they are and where we are with them now.
Yeah. Agreed.
fantastic. Number 4 for me is, I don't know actually if I talked about it in a podcast, but it's called The Outfit.
Yes, I love that movie.
Outfit, Mark Rylance.
Mhm.
Essentially, he what is called a cutter, which is a person who professionally uh, not only creates but also hems and does all of the suits and shirts and all that type of stuff. It's set in the 40s, and he essentially he's not a front because he has his own business, but he is a semi front for an Irish mob, and they're racketeering, so to speak. And what the interesting thing about the movie is that it's not quite. I mean, I know we mentioned Goodfellas earlier. It's not quite Goodfellas, but it's as close as we'll get to a fantastic gangster movie,
Yeah.
with a little bit different of a take on it. I mean, like, he's an English guy. You could tell he had a past, and he decided to set up shop in Chicago in 1940 to get away from whatever was going on in England. And he just happens to have a deal with this Irish mob where he just kind of like, they can drop the money off and pick money up from in the back of his tailoring area. And it's just one of those things where, without ruining the movie, just a couple of things happen. Somebody's looking for a specific item that could incriminate a certain part of the mob, and that's it. That's all you need to know. I recommend watching it. um Mark Rylance does a fantastic job
Yep.
as the butler himself. Zoe Deutsch is in it. She does a great job as his assistant. They have a nice 1-2 punch there, with their back and forth. Great movie. It's called The Outfit.
I think I would also classify it as almost like a whodunit,
It's
because
like a
Okay.
whodunit gangster.
you're trying to figure out like what exactly is going on and what happened. I think that
That's a
is a
good
good.
point.
I'll keep
Yeah.
that in mind. That might be a movie
Yeah.
I try watching.
I remember I talked about it on the podcast before. But yeah, it's a great movie. It's
Yeah,
on Hulu, right? Isn't it on Hulu?
I believe it is on Hulu, and
Yeah.
they call it The Outfit because of his dedication to his craft. Because he is a cutter. They spend a lot of the movie saying that he is not necessarily a tailor or anything like that. He is a cutter,
Yeah.
and
A cutter.
now I know what a cutter is.
Uh-huh.
So
Number 4 for me is gonna be this guy right here, Bullet Train.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Um,
B-Train.
I absolutely love this movie to death.
B-Train.
And yet another movie as of last week that has become obsessed in my household from my daughter. I was watching it the one night and she watched it with me, and now it's like, I think she's watched it like 4 times.
Wow.
Such a like action comedy, but also tying all the stories together at the end perfectly in a nice little bow. Brad Pitt's hilarious. I absolutely love Brad Pitt in this type of role. Same
Mhm.
thing as like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, kind of just like
Yeah.
that action comedy. He just delivers it so well. So yeah, that's my number 4.
All right. Top 3 then. Bullet Train
Yeah.
is really good. I did like that movie. It has Bad Bunny in it.
Yeah, Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny. But
Good. Sorry.
but top 3 for me. The only Marvel movie for me, and to no surprise, I think for a lot of people, is going to be Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Mhm.
It's because it's so different for me.
Yeah.
It is not the same old Marvel. It's not like Thor: Love and Thunder that we got this year. It is not. In a way, I feel like it's not safe Marvel. And I think what's surprising is the best parts of the movie for me aren't the cameos, which are still good. It's Scarlet Witch and
Yeah.
that horror sequence in the temple. that she does, like, I love that portion of the movie, and I don't like horror. Like, and it's,
Yeah.
in a way, it's not scary, but she literally comes out of the gong like the Ring, and that gave
She
me
does.
vivid flashbacks to being terrified as a child. So but just overall, like, it is such a different movie, and I am biased. I'll be completely honest. I love Doctor Strange. He's one of the most fascinating, I think, Marvel like stories that they've done so far, and I can just only hope that they continue, like, that Benedict Cumberbatch will continue to play him, because I think he does a
Oh, I
fantastic
hope so.
Doctor
Yeah.
Strange, and I'm only more excited for what now the next one is, because the next one is now all over the place, and the fight choreography as well, especially against older Doctor, or the other Doctor Strange in the one closer to the end of the movie. You guys know what I'm talking about. The only reason it's not higher for me is that I feel like the ending, in a way, isn't like him becoming or taking control of undead Doctor Strange. I was kind of like, this feels too much like leaning on the What If series that they did,
Yeah.
because we've seen it before, and that's something I kind of liked about Doctor Strange, is that a lot of the times they haven't gone into the magic portion of things, like, so far. That the whole reversing time Dormammu thing in the first one was really fun and different, where in this one, because we had seen What If and the whole taking and the whole, like, zombifying of the Marvel universe, I was like, they kind of leaned on, like, that portion of things, which is what I wasn't as keen toward. But yeah,
Gotcha.
that one is one of the best Marvel movies in a while that I think we've gotten.
Okay.
Fantastic. Number 3 for me is Black Phone.
Nice.
There you go.
Black Phone, Black Phone, Black Phone. Already explained, but Ethan Hawke does a fantastic job. I, like you, Craig, liked the little nuances that he had of, like, if you're good,
Yeah.
nothing bad will happen. I just think, there's certain times where you wonder how deep into roles actors get. And I'm not talking like a Daniel Day-Lewis type of method actor. I'm talking about, like, what the Joker plague was for Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger. And I wonder how messed up Ethan Hawke had to get just to get the role down pat. And he delivered it phenomenally. On the other side, the kids and the talking to the kids part was pretty interesting. I couldn't get over the fact that van he was even able to kidnap people in broad daylight. That was a funny part about the movie to me, is that a good dude could drive around in that type of van and kidnap somebody at 1 p.m. But other than that, I thought the movie delivered. It's rare with a horror or thriller movie. I'm going to say horror and thriller movie. It's rare to actually get what's promised by a trailer, and Black Phone did. So it's a top 3 for me. They nailed it.
Yeah, phenomenally well done. My number 3, I guess this means I have it ranked the lowest out of all of us, at least Barry, is going to be Top Gun Maverick right here. I will say that this is like updated version of, like, if you have a 4K TV and a 4K Blu-ray player, this is the one you tell them to get, I think, because it sounds phenomenal, it looks phenomenal. But the movie itself, like, a sequel to Top Gun, I when they first announced it, I was like, why? First of all, we don't need it. Top Gun, the original's fine. It's a fine movie, but I didn't see the need for it. But when you actually watch it and you realize just how good the story is, and it just draws you in when it has no business doing that, was just great. Like, caught me off guard, was not expecting to love it as much as I did. And yeah, like, this is the one where I'm like, somebody comes over and is like, oh, you got a 4K TV? I'm like, hold on, let me put Top Gun in, and let me jack up the speakers here, and let's have a good time.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, I did not watch Top Gun.
How dare
if
you.
I did it would probably be in the rankings. I just have
right
to.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really should watch it. I know you and Leanne and your wife, you guys, like, watch a lot of horror movies, and I'm not sure how much Maverick is in your guys' wheelhouse, but Maverick is fantastic.
We both being 80s babies, definitely have seen Top Gun in our life, so I don't know why we haven't gotten to it yet.
Plus, you
Um,
you get yet another beach sports scene. Not quite as
yes.
iconic as the volleyball scene, but still pretty good.
Sold.
Yeah. Number 2 for me
Uh huh.
is the Batman.
Oh,
Uh,
The man of bets.
this despite what Craig says, this movie is perfectly dark. It's dark where it needs to be. It's the Batman.
sure.
um but over and here's the thing with it being number 2. I didn't know how I felt about Robert Pattinson playing the Batman was my
Yeah.
main concern. And to be fair, I don't think it's Robert Pattinson. I think the director here did all of the work, and Robert Pattinson played his character good enough.
Mhm.
um all the fight choreography is fun. The chase scene is one of the most memorable scenes I'll remember from from cinema for a long time, because
Whoa,
it
whoa,
is.
whoa, 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 whoa! Are you telling me this chase scene is better than the Dark Knight chase scene?
No, like it no it is.
Oh, okay,
It's similar. Like they both kind of rung up there like very
man.
similarly for me in that one. But it is such like the movie just takes such a twist in certain ways, and I didn't know how I'd feel about the Catwoman being in it, because Batman's supposed to be the star. Batman still is the star of this. It The only way it would, I guess, be higher for me is if we got like, and here's the difference, because they picked the Riddler for
Mhm.
a villain. Is the villain, of course, and this is no fault to Paul Dano who plays the Riddler, it's not Heath Ledger's Joker.
Right.
That's the difference here, and the reason it's not number 1 is I for a return to form for this type of Batman movie, I was hoping that and we get a kind of a sneak peek of it, to the villain and the iconic villainry that these types of Batman movies pull off. And the Riddler is all right. I do enjoy like the detective portion of this movie.
Yeah.
But now with the next Batman, when they do make one, is it going to be more action oriented? Like, is it going to kind of forgo all the dark undertones in play, because it's going to be more about him
Emo
facing,
Batman.
yeah,
Yeah.
him
I
facing
mean,
against
like
the
this.
Joker?
I mean, it reminds me of the last trilogy. The last trilogy, I wasn't a fan of Scarecrow being well, Scarecrow
Yeah.
wasn't the focus, but I wasn't a fan of Scarecrow being the in Gotham focus.
Right.
You know, Ra's al Ghul obviously was inevitably the focus, but then the second one they busted out Heath Ledger Joker,
Yeah.
and then we all just melted and
But I don't think
like
they can do the Joker again.
I don't think that's an interesting take.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't know. When do we also allow an actor to play Joker again in the Batman universe without bringing up Heath Ledger? I mean,
I mean, Jared Leto did it and it was terrible.
but like, I mean, technically but technically that was like a Suicide Squad-esque
Right.
one,
Right.
but like, when do we allow Batman versus Joker again without being like, but it's not Heath Ledger, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And like I find myself, Barry, I'm find myself doing exactly what you would just express. Like I compare villains all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
um I don't know why, like that just made me think of that little small tangent to go on with that. But um when do we just when do we not allow ourselves to hold like that aspect of Batman hostage anymore,
Yeah.
Well, and
but
to answer that, I think it's because like and it's DC's fault too. They set these movies up where it's like, oh, it's not in the trilogy. We're looking
Yeah.
more. It's not in the Batman cinematic universe, or the DC cinematic universe. It's more, these films are separate from everything. These don't tie into any other movies, sort of thing. Which is why we compare them, because that's what we have.
Right.
Um,
truth.
and like, other than that, we never got really a Batman solo movie that isn't like, the Dark Knight trilogy. It's
Right.
Yeah.
instead we get, the Batman in the essence of that. And I we do know that the Joker is going to play a role in the next Batman movie. But I know that the actor Barry Cohegan, his last name's weird.
Yeah.
Is going to be playing the Joker, at least I think so, based on the little after,
You
thing
also have
that you
Joaquin
get.
Phoenix over there playing Joker as well. and
Yeah.
doing a
Yes.
phenomenal job. And like I
That.
would much prefer them bring him in and then pair him with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Like get those two together, and
Ooh.
then I think you have a solid foundation for a Joker movie. But also, I don't know, I guess like we've done Joker a lot,
Hmm.
and there's so many other good Batman villains that could be done well. Like we never got a serious Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Um,
No. Yeah.
we
Like
never
Mr. Freeze would
we
be
Yeah.
cool.
never we never got a
Yeah.
serious Poison Ivy.
We did.
There's
Just
so many
yeah.
Clayface. There's like you could
Yeah.
do these things and not have to do the Joker every time.
Yeah.
Court of
We
Owls is
just
out there, you know?
Yeah.
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 We just got a serious Bane in the
Yep.
third of the last trilogy,
Yep.
and up like I didn't know Bane wasn't a buffoon, growing up because I
Yeah.
saw that we know which movie, like with
Batman
where
and
we didn't
Robin.
get this
Yeah.
where we didn't get the serious Mr. Freeze,
Yep.
Poison Ivy, or Bane.
That movie is a
But
cinematic masterpiece in the wrong ways.
It is.
it
It
is. It is. It is.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't
Oh
know.
man.
I would like them to explore other villains.
I agree.
Calendar Man's out there, who I think is phenomenal as a serial
Yeah.
killer. There's just so many options that you don't have to jump right to Joker. But I get what they're thinking. They're like, people know who the Joker is, and you're going to draw people in. People may not know who Clayface is,
Yeah.
or even Mr. Freeze. You know,
Yeah, that's
but
true.
maybe as like side characters, or you could do the Penguin again. I don't care. Just
Yeah, do the Penguin again. I
yeah.
mean, Cobblepot's got a great background,
Yeah. Yep.
I actually so let me just also say this as well. My number 2 is Batman, which is
Okay.
great because of the segue in the question that I kind of brought up, because that's my number 2 anyway. So like we're kind of already just in the Batman
Sure.
portion, because Barry and I are smart movie watchers and,
Hey, come on, you
put
can't.
Batman
That
out.
was that was
I'm
a
just
little
playing.
mean.
I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I am
like
just
it.
playing. I love when Craig rocks the boats with that kind of stuff, and I'll never forget Barry's face in the honorable mention portion of this. But yes, so number 2 for me is Batman. But like I think we brought up a lot of good points in this discussion. There's a lot Batman's plethora of villains, his wheelhouse of anti-Batman people in his universe are some of the best. I think you can argue that, but I won't listen to you. I think it's one of the best groups of villains. I think Spider-Man also has a great group.
Yep.
I'm derailing this. I'm sorry. This is a whole nother discussion that is not top 10 movies. But in any case, Batman has a nice group of I don't like Batman people in his universe that you can portray. And you can bring Cobblepot back. You can bring
They
they
always
did a
come
decent
back. They're never not back.
Yeah. Arkham for some reason, even as a jail in general, the asylum and their jailing system just doesn't keep people in, and they're very easy to crack. So they come back. So like we'll see what they do. I think they did a good job as Riddler. I think it was a nice modern take, and I thought it was a nice dark, more deathy take on Riddler, because if I'm not mistaken, the last person we had was oh my god,
the Riddler, Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Why couldn't I remember Jim Carrey's name? Thank you. So like that's a decade and a half, 2 decades from the last Riddler. So I think they did a good job with that. So
I love that the Avengers game is playing in the background.
Yeah, I just noticed
from like years ago.
Why is it playing the
the Avengers game, by the way?
Oh my god, that's hilarious. So all right, so my number 2 is gonna be The Woman King.
Okay.
Really, really, really enjoyed that movie. The fact that Viola Davis manages to pull off a character that you see as just extremely intimidating, extremely badass, and just going to town. There's so many great acting moments in this movie. John Boyega does well in it's a small role, but like as like the king, but still recognizing that he should listen to his woman guard that he has. It's just such a well done movie. This is my wife's pick of the year. She already told me that. She's like, that should be number 1. Number 2, I highly recommend everybody go check that movie out. so good. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere yet. I don't think it is, but
I don't think it is
I'm
yet.
sure it will be soon. It's been a minute.
I'll be
But
watching
yeah,
that soon.
The Woman King #2.
Woman King.
All right, my number one probably will come no surprise at this point. It is Top Gun Maverick.
Nice.
I
had seen Top Gun for the first time this year, and after they announced that Top Gun Maverick was coming out, so Maverick comes out, and I only recently solidified it as my number one after watching it a second time, where it is. I didn't think airplane dogfighting could be this tense, but they do such a good job throughout the whole movie, and I think because for me as well, my favorite part is the last 30 to 45 minutes, because they stress to you how perfect everything has to go in order for everyone to survive. And it's all about the time limit, and you're thinking, okay, like, nobody's good enough to do this. Who can do it? Maverick. Bring Maverick in, because
bam.
You think he's not gonna, and me personally, I think he's not going to play as big of a role, so I'm waiting for someone to, like, I was waiting for someone to step up and actually do it. Miles Teller's character kind of had that feeling, but in typical, like, and I don't know if Tom Cruise is like this, but in typical fashion, it made it about him.
That's definitely Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
that's definitely Tom Cruise.
So that's something to think about. And I could watch that last 30 to 45 minutes over and over and over again. It is just so choreographed well. The dogfighting portion's fun. The whole bombing sequence, like, they make everything look like so much fun. Like, they're
it's because they took the time to physically do it.
Yeah.
To go up in the planes, and they all had to learn how to be in the plane. I think that helps, right?
Gives that definitely helps with the authenticity. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and even like Val Kilmer's slight little intro to it, like, that was enough as well. Like, you get enough callbacks to the first one, and like, for me personally, I come in watching Maverick like, I can't wait for them to play the Kenny Loggins song. I can't wait for them to play
Danger Zone.
They're at the entire
Danger
movie.
Zone.
And
Zone.
You get that for 2-3 minutes in the beginning of the movie, and it's done. That callback is done, which I think is such the correct choice, because they're trying to, like, move on from, like, the Danger Zone callback to that. Just overall, it is such, like, if there's two movies that I watched the most this year, it's Top Gun Maverick and The Batman. And that's why I think they're my top two there. And Maverick edges it out because it's more of a complete story in my eyes as well. And it is, and Craig's right, like, it is one of those, like, movies where people are like, wow, you've got a really nice TV, and I'm like, hold up, you haven't seen anything yet. And it's another kind of win, and this is just more for movies in general. It's another win for physical media as well. Like, a lot of the times with these movies, you don't get Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision when you're streaming it digitally, and the quality isn't as good digitally as it is like a physical movie is, like, physically reading it kind of thing, a physical disc reader sort of thing. So it's a win for physical media, because it is such a good movie. It's such, like, a gorgeous movie. And again, I would have never thought in my life, like, oh yeah, planes fighting in the air. It kind of seems boring. But it's not.
Neat.
It's the exact opposite of boring.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And even though, like, the physical thing and putting it in your 4K Blu-ray player, it is streaming on Paramount Plus now.
Yeah.
So, like, no excuse for nobody to not watch it, Craig.
I need to get on that. Jeez, there's so many that I missed. Number one for me is Nope.
All right.
I sat there for a long time, and I crossed out Nope and put Batman, and then I put Batman and then I crossed it out, and then I put Nope, and then it's Nope. I am a Jordan Peele fanboy, and I while arguably Craig and I have already talked about this, Barry, when you see them, you'll say the same thing. While I do think Get Out and and Us were different and better stories. What that man does with a camera, I am excited to see, and
Mhm.
I want to see where he goes down the line. He's a weird guy. He's a funny guy. And when I say weird, it's the best weird. And that guy needs to have a pen. He needs to keep writing screenplays. He needs to keep coming up with these weird ideas. He needs to keep incorporating the African American aspect to his movies as he has been. And it was beautifully acted, and the twists of what actually was going on in the alien part of it was great. Once you found that out, I was strapped in and I was like, give me more. Let's figure out what's going on with this group. And you wanted everybody to survive, and there were certain shots in the movie that were just well done. And I like the open space of just the canyon ranch area, and he had a lot of space to work with an aerial threat, and he knew that. And a lot of different scenes had a lot of different nuances or small things that he added. And I'm just gonna talk about it. I liked the monkey part. I
Yeah.
liked it was hard for him to it was hard to really back how it was incorporated in the film, but they kept switching back to just this chimp that just saw some bright lights and heard balloons popping, and then they had a murderous scene on what was essentially a chimp Sesame Street show. And those scenes, I don't know why, but they struck me differently. They added a little different terror to the terror of the main story of like, are these people going to survive? It was like, is this kid going to survive? Like that type of thing. So for me, it's nope. I'm a fanboy. I'm not saying every year Jordan Peele's movie will be number one for me. This year it is, though.
Yeah, and the fact that you put that at number one, but still say the other two are better is crazy.
Yeah, but also remember, listeners and viewers, and you guys already know, I did not watch Maverick. I did not watch like a lot of movies that I wanted to this year too. So my list might have been completely different had I got to restructure so that I can make sure October and December, when I want to watch Halloween movies and Christmas movies, I need to get all the other ones done, like the other 10 months of the year, so I could focus. But that's my number one.
So before Craig says number one,
yep.
as
it is the Batman.
Yeah, well, no, as Craig C and I are like the plebs, regular moviegoers. Craig R here is an artiste, and probably picked like Coco Melon the movie.
Yeah, Coco Melon. All right, my number one movie. I was quiet about this earlier, Barry.
I'm so excited.
My number one movie is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Here's my thing. That movie is a cinematic masterpiece.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just the way everything is shot. The fact that that movie is so crazy and you can still follow what's going on somehow is a feat in of itself. It all goes back to the bagel, right, Barry?
Yeah.
It's all about the bagel.
Yeah.
I thought that like the story between the mom and the daughter was touching. The choreographed fight scenes were like old school martial arts.
Yeah.
And they work so well. It's so wacky. Man, the one like universe where they're just rocks was hilarious. And just everything about it, it's such a weird movie, but it works. I don't know how it works, but it does. And like I knew right when I finished that movie, I was like, this is my favorite movie of the year. And I don't think anything's going to top it the rest of the year. And that's the way it's stayed. But man, such a great movie. Such a great movie.
I'm glad you. I knew you loved it, so I was kind of wondering where it was going to be, and then as you said, I was like, okay, that makes sense. That one is a really good movie, and probably should be ranked higher had I think it had a better like release. I think for the most part, because I try to take a lot of factors into this that probably other than physical enjoyment of it than that.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, so if we had to pick like a couple three movies here, probably everything everywhere all at once, Top Gun
Hmm.
Maverick and the
Mm,
Batman is probably,
Yeah,
is that at
that's a
least
good
bigger?
average.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. Bullet Train, maybe. You
Bullet
guys
Train,
didn't
yeah.
even have that
Oh
on your
yeah.
list, though, did you?
No, that one
I
was
did not.
close to my honorable mentions
Hmm.
section, but yes, it did miss the cut there.
Okay.
It did for me.
But yeah, that is our favorite TV shows and movies of the year.
Yeah,
I'm hoping
yay.
you guys are kind of enjoying this whole bonanza type thing that we're doing. All of these, I do want to get this out there. All of these are recorded before, like today is the last day of 2022.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
yay.
things like The Witcher Blood Origin, I know it's not in anyone's top 10, so I'm not worried about that. But things that came
Yep.
out late in the year are very hard to get. Maybe we mention them in some other podcast as we continue to catch up with the rest of the movies and TV shows because it's impossible to watch them all.
Yep.
We'll update them and maybe they'll find somewhere on a list for next year. But this is up saying I hope everybody's 2023 is starting out well.
Yeah.
For the podcast portion of things, we won't be recording for a couple weeks here, hence why things like news and probably mostly news, because there's not a lot of video games coming out in the beginning of January, is going to be a little bit slow. For the most
Hmm.
part, we're going to be behind, but we will catch up before Dead Space and Fire Emblem Engage comes out
Yes.
at the end of January here. So look forward to that. If you guys feel like we missed any movies or TV shows, please feel free to get in touch with us on Twitch,
Yep.
Instagram, Twitter. Like we're all active on there, and I'd love to see what I missed. I will say, if you give me a scary movie, I'm probably not going to watch it. Just know your audience.
Know your
Is what I'll
audience.
say there. Maybe I'll pass it on to the Craigs here, and they'll watch it
There you
in
go.
my stead. But
You give us some
Yes.
time, we'll get him into them eventually.
Yeah, it's a baby steps,
Yep.
definitely.
baby steps indeed. Uh, but other than that, I want to thank everybody to listening for this 2-hour podcast. Please make sure to share it and review it if you liked it. And just in general, just follow us on all the social media platforms I mentioned earlier. I hope, again, you're all starting 2023 off on the right foot, as we will be when you guys hear about us next. So thank you again for all the support we get this year. And let's hope we just dive into an even bigger portion of it for 2023. We'll
Yeah.
see you guys next time and enjoy your year.
See you later.
Later, guys.